let's talk about something we all think about, probably more than we'd like to admit: money. It's a topic that connects everyone, but the way we talk about it in English can be, well, a little strange. We say things like we're flat broke or that something costs an arm and a leg. These are called idioms. And trust me, they are the secret to sounding less like a textbook and a lot more like a real person. So let's dive right in.
Oof. Does this sound familiar? That feeling when you look at your bank account after all the bills are paid? I think a lot of us have been there. It's that end of the month panic. And it's actually the perfect place for us to start, because the phrases we use when we're stressed about money are some of the most powerful in the English language.
So yeah, we're going to start right in the deep end. These are the phrases you reach for when your wallet's feeling a little light and your next payday feels like it's a million miles away. So, what does flat broke actually mean? It's not just, being a little short on cash. No, this is the bottom. This is when you've paid for the absolute essentials and there is literally nothing left over, not even enough for a cup of coffee. It's that feeling of total emptiness in your bank account. And when you're flat broke, what's the first thing you have to do? Well, you've got to tighten your belt. This phrase is all about cutting back, and I mean really cutting back. You start looking at every single dollar and deciding what is an absolute necessity versus what's just a nice to have. And this right here, this is a perfect real-life picture of what it means to tighten your belt. It's about making those small, sometimes really tough sacrifices, choosing to walk in the rain just to save that bus fare, or skipping going out with friends. That's what this phrase is all about, doing whatever it takes to get to that next paycheck. Okay, so our next phrase describes this really constant, really stressful cycle, living from hand to mouth. Picture it. The money comes into your hand and it goes straight out again for the basics, like food and rent. There's no time for it to even rest in your pocket. There's just nothing left over for savings or an emergency. And this really gets to the heart of what it feels like. It isn't just a financial situation, it's a mental one. It's this constant low-level anxiety in the back of your mind. You know you have just enough for today, but there's absolutely no safety net for tomorrow. There's no room for fun, just that nagging worry about what could go wrong. All right, so we've covered the language of having no money, but let's ask the question, how does the wallet get empty to begin with? So now we're going to flip the script and look at the idioms that are all about the act of spending money. I love this idiom because the image is just so clear. Imagine turning on a faucet and just letting the water flow freely right down the drain. That is exactly what it means to spend money like water. The cash just seems to disappear, often without much thought, on things you probably don't even need. And here is a perfect, and I'm guessing a very relatable example. We've all been there, right? You see a sale sign, and the excitement just takes over. You buy one thing, then another, and then you get home, and you open your wallet and get that sinking feeling in your stomach. The money's just gone. That's a classic case of spending money like water. Now, here's an idiom you use when you're on the receiving end of a huge bill. When something costs an arm and a leg, it means it's just shockingly expensive. We're talking about things like rent in a major city, college tuition, or, as we're about to see, a totally unexpected car repair. So just imagine, you're getting by, you're managing your budget, and then, out of nowhere, life decides to throw a curveball in the form of a big, unexpected bill. And that's when a tight budget can turn into a full-blown crisis. Your car breaks down, you take it into the shop, and the mechanic comes back with this number, $500. It's a total shock to the system. And that's the exact moment you would use this phrase. You'd tell your friend, I was so shocked. The repair cost me an arm and a leg. See, it captures not just the high price, but the real emotional pain of an expense that feels so huge, it's like you had to give up a part of yourself to pay for it. Okay, phew, enough of all that financial stress. Let's completely change the mood. We're going to pivot from empty wallets to winning the lottery. This is the language of hope, of luck, and of amazing good fortune. This phrase, hit the jackpot, actually comes from casinos and slot machines. But today, we use it to talk about any kind of incredible, life-changing luck. Of course, winning the lottery is the classic example. But you can also hit the jackpot by finding your dream job, or the perfect apartment, or even meeting the right person. So let's just daydream for a minute, okay? It's kind of fun. If you, right now, suddenly won millions of dollars, what would be the absolute first thing you would do with the money? And as you can see, that dream looks really different for everyone. For some people, hitting the jackpot means quiet and security. You know, a house by the sea, listening to the waves, never worrying about bills again. But for others, it's pure adventure. Traveling the world in style, visiting everywhere from Japan to Italy to Brazil. So we have been on quite the emotional roller coaster, right? We've gone from being flat broke all the way to hitting the jackpot. We've talked about 6 really common idioms about money. But the big question is, how do you make them a part of your own vocabulary? I just love this final thought. It is the perfect metaphor for learning anything, especially a language. You're not going to become fluent overnight, just like you're not going to become a millionaire overnight. But every little bit of effort you put in, day after day, it all adds up. And eventually, the payoff is absolutely life-changing. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Of all the phrases we talked about today, which one best describes your life at this very moment? Are you tightening your belt, living from hand to mouth, or maybe just dreaming of hitting the jackpot? Connecting these idioms to your own life is truly the best way to make them stick. Thanks so much for watching.